What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 111. Yeah, so a little palindrome number there with 111. And today, I'm going to be reviewing the movie The Sword in the Stone. So what did I think of The Sword in the Stone? Well, it was interesting, I think. It was a different adaptation to the classic novel, and in general, the Arthurian lore, I guess. It's just so much so different. I think the only redeemable factor in terms of, like, accuracy to the original story is Merlin. He's the most accurate part of it, but other than that, it's not entirely accurate. But it's a good movie. It's a classic. I think it's the last movie before Walt Disney actually died. It came out in 1963, I think it was. So it was quite a while ago, and most of the actors are no longer living. And it was also interesting because a lot of at least two actors voiced the character who were like using American accent. You got the owl, and you got Archimedes the owl, and you got Arthur, and he's also using an American accent, even though it's like in the English setting. And it was just overall a really interesting movie, and it just had a lot of differences because at the beginning there's this, I think the narrator sings the basically the premise of what's going on in the story so far. Like, oh, Uther died, I guess. Like, he had a son, who is also known as Arthur, and like he's 11 years old, like 12 years old, and he's like he ends up becoming the youngest king ever. Like, it's just weird because it's very much different from the original story. You have a foster father, you have the foster father's son, who is very kind of mean and gloomy and all that stuff. But it was honestly a really interesting movie. It had a lot of comedy, a lot of funny moments, and I enjoyed it to an extent. I think it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. It was very much a different take on the character of Arthur, and also Merlin too, because Merlin is in the movie is viewed as an old man, and in like all the adaptations has been viewed as an old man, except for maybe for the Merlin TV show for the BBC, and that's like a young Merlin. But like this is like an older Merlin with problems, and he basically teaches Arthur or Wart, and it's just interesting that they brought up this tale of life in a different way, because in Arthurian legends, Uther like is around, he's the king, but in the movie they explained that the king died because he got ill, and then like that meant that they didn't know what was take Arthur in, or they call him Wart, and so basically they had like this knight guy, this person, I don't know if he's the king or not, but like he takes Arthur in, or they call him Wart, and he also has a son who kind of bullies him a little bit, kind of, and he just kind of shows you like life as a 12-year-old boy who gets to be king, and it's about the Sword of the Stone. Although I will say that they got the sword wrong. They got the sword name wrong. Like, didn't I guess they refused to call it Excalibur, because in the Arthurian legends it's known as Excalibur, and I guess they forgot to leave that they left that detail out. It's like, it's not called Sword of the Stone, it's called Excalibur. I mean, yes, the movie's called Sword of the Stone, but it's not called, it's the Sword of the Stone. You call it Excalibur. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's there are different mediums of what the sword looks like, but like, come on, you gotta call it Excalibur. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I think it was entertaining. I think it was really funny. It was just like showing Arthur as a young boy, just kind of learning, not understanding a whole lot of stuff, being treated like nothing really, like being a servant kind of thing, and which is very good. And then Merlin shows up. He's like he's gonna train. Not I guess wouldn't really train, because I don't know, because like, yeah, I don't know, like, because I don't think that Arthur really believed in magic. In fact, that Arthur on the TV show didn't believe in magic. Really. It was just interesting that Merlin was gonna train him, and training like tutoring in magic by turning him into animals and stuff. First, it was a fish, which was crazy. He had this huge like fish in the water. That thing was crazy. Just showing how to adapt to it. And then there was Squirrel, which was there was like a love story there going on. There was like a young squirrel who was like in love with him, and he kept chasing him. It was crazy. And then by the end of that, she freaks out and starts crying, which is really it's cute but also really funny. And they have this grandma squirrel who has a thing for Merlin, which is it's also really crazy. But yeah, I think it was interesting just to see how Merlin, as a young boy, kind of navigates life before he becomes king, because at least in the BBC show, he's just slow Prince Arthur, but like in this version, he's just like, and there's a lot of versions of King Arthur, but some of them I haven't liked at all. It's just been never been really bad. But this one, it's in terms of being faithful to the original story, but both Merlin's side and Arthur, I think it's more or less about Arthur and more or less on Merlin, because Merlin he looks like he would in the original stories. He has, the powerful wizard with the beard, and he has owl Archimedes. I don't know if Archimedes was in the original tale, but also just showing that the magic of Disney, because this is a Disney movie. It came out in 1963, so it was just about before Walt Disney actually died. It was the last movie, so just seeing out how magic works in the movie, it's actually quite nice. It's like, you have things go poof, and it just like, and things shrink. There's a scene where Merlin packs up his house, and all the things shrink down into it's one bag, and it's just really interesting. But also, we see a lot of other magic. We see just like him turning things into other things and all that stuff, turning Arthur into certain things like a fish, a squirrel, and a bird. Of course, when he's in bird mode, he actually is taught by Archimedes to talk now. Although, like I said before, both Archimedes and Arthur both have American accents, even though it's like England, which is really strange. I think most of them are actually all American actors, except some of them, but they have British accents. It's just weird. It's just like, it's a very interesting story. I think it was very fun. Some of the more wild parts and kind of weird stuff was like Madame Mim. She was a very weird character. She could transform herself into all sorts of characters. She could go big, she could go small, she could go ugly, she could go beautiful, she could do all that stuff. She was a witch, so she has a duel with Merlin, and that becomes crazy, and basically animal kind of thing. But there's not much to tell about the movie. It's a very short movie. It's about an hour and 19 minutes long with the credits. Well, yeah, I always got the credits. Yeah, I had to count the credits, but I still think it was a particularly good movie. I think it scored 71%. Well, I don't know what credit for life I have in the 60s, but like still, it was a fairly decent movie. It's interesting to show to see Arthur as a young boy, because in the TV show that I'm watching, he's like a prince, and he's always like a younger man, but like there's always a king available. But like in this movie version, the king is dead. Uther is dead, and they don't have a king to look after. The sword and stone. The sword and the stone, they could call it Excalibur, that she was not to, is like it's not a king, so it's just being left to decay and stuff like that until someone takes it. And Arthur, they don't really call him Pendragon. They don't use the Pendragon name. They just call him Arthur, and so he's called Wart. I don't know why. It's just like a nickname. I don't know where that comes from, but like we just see him like he's this young boy who doesn't know much about anything. He's very interested in a lot of things, but also just him, being treated the way he is. He has to do all this. Yeah, he has to do like 4 hours worth of the dishes. He has to do all that stuff, and then Merlin helps him out and all that stuff. And like it's just the foster father and the son both treat him not so well. In fact, it takes a little bit of time for the foster father to actually be convinced that magic is real. So overall, it was actually not a bad movie. I didn't hate it. I think it was better than most adaptations I've seen, because I saw the original King Arthur movie, what was one, 2004 one, which was not very good. I watched it and I didn't like it particularly. It was interesting, but I didn't think it was a very good adaptation. Then the Legend of the Sword came out. I watched that. I don't think it was a good movie actually to review of it, and that was just a total mess. It just the plot was make no sense at all, which is very confusing, and just I don't know, they didn't pick a good actor to play Arthur. It was just it was weird. But so then I think that this one movie was better adapted, and I think there's gonna be different the other ones too. But I think in terms of this one, it just had a lot more to offer. It was much more different. It was there was a lot of songs on, because Disney's known for the songs. So they had like a lot of classic songs. At the beginning, they had someone singing the narration, which is unusual for the narration to be sung by someone, but it was sung. They'd have like the classic chorus when something's magical happening, like when Arthur takes a sword. The chorus lights up with this like light shitting on the stone. But still, I think it's just interesting the way that Merlin treats Arthur as a teacher and also as just a person, like showing him different things that's gonna happen in the future. Like I think that interesting thing about Merlin, because I always see Merlin as this old man with a beard and a wand, or either a staff, a long cloak with a pony hat, stars and moons on it. Of course, he didn't have stars and moons because I guess not all adaptations have that, but like he had a plain dark, blue cloak, all that stuff. So not a bad version of Merlin. So that definitely shows how he is very old. Although he's been played by different actors, he's still the same kind of person. And so I just think that it was interesting to see him show off things that were not invented yet, like a steam train, things that television, media, all the stuff like things that haven't even been invented yet, a flying machine, things that haven't been around like gonna be around for centuries. It's just interesting to see him show off himself, but also like tell about things that happen in the future, which I think is really, really interesting. But overall, I think it was a very fun movie. It had some cute moments. I think Madame was a really strange character. She was just weird. She turns into this dragon, and she turns into this cat. Wants to eat Arthur. Arthur becomes different things like that. I think that the really cute scene was with the squirrel scene where Arthur was like being infatuated by a young squirrel who was like in love with him. It was really weird, and he didn't want it to happen. It was just like so weird, but I don't know. I think it was cute. It was a very cute movie, and it had good points. I definitely think it was far different from any other story. I mean, it was like Disney's version, so it's like everything's gonna be different. It's gonna be a lot more songs. There's gonna be more magic involved. I think it's good for the time it came out. I think it came out before the regular book came out, so it's pretty old. I'm pretty sure all the actors have already passed away, unfortunately. But still, I liked it. I think the only drawback of this movie is the fact that Arthur speaks with an American accent, and that's not true at all for the original story, because Arthur's very much a British king, so that was a little bit off. I think there's a lot of things off by it. It was just unusual to have Arthur this young, because like, if Merlin's that old, how can Arthur be this young? Like, he's so young. He's like a 12-year-old boy. He's really young, and it didn't really work a lot, and he could get dangerous. He would do all the dishes, and it would just be a slave basically. And so I think that was one thing they screwed about that movie was the fact that Arthur does not have an American accent at all. He's very much British, so they cast someone with an American accent. It didn't make sense, because like if they have actors who are American but can do British accents perfectly, then why cast someone who's American to do American accent? It didn't make sense. So that's something I think that was a little bit off by the movie. But other than that, I didn't hate it. I think it was very fun. It was cute. It had some good moments in it. I think it was very fun. Short, but interesting. I think Merlin is a good character. It's a comedy movie, so it has some funny moments in it, some really funny moments. There's a moment in the movie that I particularly liked a lot, was where Merlin is tangled up with his beard and then he puffs out, and it's pretty funny actually. So there's quite a lot of interesting things about the Sword of the Stone. I think if they make a live action remake, they change it, because they make Arthur not quite young, and make all the original Arthur and all that stuff in all that stuff there. They mentioned some other stuff like they're on table, all that stuff. Mentioned some basic stuff, but I think that the very end of the movie, when Arthur does not know how to be a king. Well, it's true, because he doesn't know how to be a king, but like it's just interesting to show off a dynamic. Like, he does not know how to be a king. How is he supposed to be a king? Like, he built sort of on stone. They didn't call it, but they're calling it Excalibur, because why waste that top opportunity? Because they just had that waste that opportunity. So they didn't call it Excalibur. They called it the Sword of the Stone. Even though the movie's called Sword of the Stone, they just could have called it. They could have called it what they're supposed to call in the story, which is Excalibur. I mean, seriously. But like, the moment he pulls from the Sword from the Stone, he like becomes the youngest king. He has all this like robe, this crown. He does not know how to be king. He doesn't know how to go country. He doesn't want to be king. So, and then of course I think Merlin arrives from Bermuda with like futuristic gear, basically just like vacation gear, and like I'm talking about movies that haven't been invented, all this stuff, because he's the most powerful wizard, so he can go to the future and see all this amazing stuff that no one knows about, and it's just interesting to see that kind of thing happen. So he doesn't know how to be king, so Merlin basically helps him, and I think it's a very lovely movie. It's a good movie. I didn't love it. I think the only problem that I had with it was the fact that it was very much different from the original story. It had a lot of elements, yes, but it was just very different. I think that's what made it suffer, because it wasn't like the original story, where because Arthur was supposed to be American, he's supposed to be British. So it's like they kind of screwed that up a little bit. But other than that, I think it was a fun movie. It was well done, and I think for a last movie from Disney, it's pretty good. It didn't have the Disney logo, weirdly enough, but it did have the classic, opening kind of text in like chorus that every classic Disney movie has, which is I find it very, very interesting. But still, yeah, I think it was a good movie. That's all I can really say about it. It was really old. It had some good moments and had some good comedy, good characters, fun characters. The Wizard Duel was actually pretty epic. That was fantastic. It can kind of be a little tense at moments, but it's not that bad. I mean, I think there's a point where bad things are happening. There was like a wolf that kept like trying to eat Wart or Arthur. It was really funny. It's not a bad movie. I didn't hate it, but it was okay. Anyway, I think I'm gonna give this a 8 out of 10, mainly because of the, some of the inaccuracy with the original stories, because they didn't do everything right. But I didn't think that was a bad thing. They're the best, so I think that's not bad. So anyway, yeah, that does it for this review. Not much I can say about that movie. I would recommend it. Check it out. Sword of the Stone is pretty old, but I guess before, you should know this by now, but Reviewed is a show where I talk about things that are both old and new. So I'm gonna be reviewing a lot of movies that are old but also new. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate the support. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and other series that I do, as well as other great content. And I'll be back next time with another episode. Alright? See ya.